All right, we are live. Day 2 of March Madness here on the right side of campus. I'm your host today, Donnie Rightside, with my main man in crime over there, the BMOC, big man on campus, Jeff Nadeau. Wanted to come to you live. Games are already tipped off and underway. Oklahoma State looks like they're out to an early lead of 8-6, only about 6 minutes into that ball game. Let me bring right on the big man on campus. What we're going to do in today's show, we're going to delve right into these ball games today, cap and break down, and see if we can find some lines that maybe are a little bit off and give you a little bit of tips to put more money in your pocket on that. But we certainly want to recap day 1 yesterday. Big man on campus, how's it going today, boss?
Hey, Donnie, good. Friday. It's, if you're Irish, happy St. Patrick's Day. I am not, but hey, happy St. Patrick's Day to all you people out there. Be safe. But yeah, day 2, best 2 days of the year, if you ask me, and we're back and raring and ready to go.
Yeah, good one. Why don't we take a look yesterday, big man, of how, just do a simple recap, and I know a lot of the listeners out there, same as me, we want to get right into these ball games today and cap those down, but we'd be remiss if we didn't take a look of what happened yesterday, some of the bigger moves. We won't go over every game, but I think everybody was talking on their mind. Northwestern yesterday with the way they won the game versus the Vanderbilt meltdown. Speak on that, big man. I mean, I know everybody out there seen it, but just your take on that game and how it played out.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, Donnie, I mean, if you had Vanderbilt, I mean, sorry. I mean, you got kind of screwed, to be honest. I mean, Vanderbilt should have won that basketball game. They led, they had the shot at the end. Listen, if you're Matthew Fisher-Davis, look, obviously the kid you had to feel bad for him, but how do you make that mistake? You're a junior. You've played a lot of minutes for Vanderbilt. You're at a school that is pretty basketball rich, and you're a kid that's pretty smart. How do you not know the score in that situation? That, to me, is pathetic. I don't know how that happens, especially in the first round of the NCAA tournament, a tournament in which you guys barely got into. I feel like your spidey senses or whatever should be up. I don't know how you make a mistake like that to ultimately lose the game. And you pretty much knew when that happened, they were going to lose that basketball game. A critically horrible mistake by Fisher-Davis that just can't happen at this level.
Yeah, and then we'll talk about some favorites yesterday that pulled away in the second half. We talked about it yesterday quite a bit. Villanova struggling in the first half versus the Mount, and also Gonzaga struggling in the first half as well. Both of those teams showed their mettle in the second half with cruising to easy victories. Kind of anticipated in those games, big man. How about your thoughts on that, the way some of these favorites roll into town against the 16 seed? Maybe not motivated, so to speak, right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, look, Gonzaga scores, what do they score? 66 points. They shoot under 40%, and they still get the job done. That's impressive. That just shows you how good Gonzaga is. They didn't play particularly well and still won by 20 points. They had really nothing from Karnowski and Williams-Goss until late in the game. They held Dom in check. He didn't have a good game. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. In games against top-level competition as a 16 seed, you have to have your big players play well. Mike Dom did not play well playing that way. They had a shot. And again, guys, I will point out, the key to making money with Gonzaga is waiting till halftime and maybe betting them in the second half. First halves, they come out very slow lately. They've not played well in the first half. I'm going to look second halves going forward with the Bulldogs.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I like the way these teams, settle in. It's actually kind of good for them because they roll with the punches. They get some adversity, pull away late. It's exactly the way it was supposed to be. Both of those teams almost even only being up 1 point or a couple points at half, laying in the mid-20s, almost covered those lines. Also, yesterday, big man, just to wrap up a little thing, what did you see yesterday that you might be using to play forward in some of these games? I know I like the way St. Mary's came out and played. They're going to have a hell of a task going up against Arizona. That should be an interesting round 2 game. Any games from yesterday that are going to flow over to tomorrow in the second round that you might be piquing your interest?
Yeah, I mean, Florida State continues to be concerning as far as their inability to not win. I mean, they won yesterday, but they didn't do it in easy fashion. They didn't play well. And again, free throws continue to be a problem for this team. I mean, they missed, I believe, 15 free throws last night. In games of this caliber, as we continue to move forward, you cannot miss free throws like that. They did it yesterday. And again, they're going to do it again. It's not something that they're just going to flip a switch and do better at. I mean, they were 24 for 39 from the free throw line. That's 61.5%. It's just not good enough. And against a Xavier team who's playing with some confidence right now. They cannot play that way. They have to get that turned around. Obviously, I did love what I saw from, the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders weren't a team that just said, you know what? Public loves us. Everyone loves us. We're going to coast through this game. They got the job done. They showed that they are not a 12 seed, and they showed that they can win a game. Butler needs to be on high alert tomorrow. That's going to be a war tomorrow because Butler, again, kind of a pedestrian performance against Winthrop, allowed the Eagles to stay in that game.
Yeah, yesterday my only premium play that I did put out, the only game I actually had some action on was St. Mary's. They pulled away from VCU. If you know me, I've been known to fade VCU. Faded them versus Rhode Island to an easy win. Same thing there with St. Mary's. St. Mary's had a 17-point lead in the first half, ended up at 15 at the half, and, little jabs and punches. These teams are good enough to make runs in the second half, but they did hold on. I know you closed the night, big man, with Dunk City over Florida State. Talk about smart teams in the tournament, big man, and teams that aren't playing so well. I mean, we watched this Florida State team all throughout the year, very good at home, struggle on the road. Yesterday could have put the nail in the coffin multiple times with just making no mistakes, fouling three-pointers late, stepping out of bounds, not taking care of the ball, not making free throws. Moving forward, they're going to play a Xavier team that looks like they're playing pretty game at the end of this year. Florida State and teams like that who don't value the ball as Villanova. Going forward, big man, talk about that game because I know you had a premium play, won that game with Dunk City without even their best player playing the majority of that game. Talk about Florida State going forward.
Yeah, athletically, they're fantastic, Donnie. We all know that. Bacon and John Isaac and Rathan Mays, they're fantastic. But the mental acuity just isn't there for this Florida State team. And it starts with their coach. Leonard Hamilton has not been a very smart coach throughout his career. He's not an X and O kind of guy. He really has no idea what he's doing game situationally. And they played a lot of people. I mean, they played 15 people yesterday. I mean, how do you win that way? There's a lot of players, a lot of people moving in and out. The acuity is just not there for them. They're not very smart. They don't make free throws. They're not a team I'm looking to back. I haven't backed them much at all this year and won't look to start doing it in this tournament. For me, it's fade or pass in Florida State's in their games right now. Another team that needs to smarten up is the Purdue Boilermakers. Just continue to not get what got them there. I mean, get the ball to Swanigan. I don't know what I have to say about it. They're going to have opportunities tomorrow, but they cannot dilly-dally around and lay the ball up as instead of dunking. Isaac Haas needs to look, he's not going to get tough by any means, but you got to dunk the ball, man. I mean, dunk the basketball. They need to smarten up because Matt Painter's team just continues to kind of fizzle out here in this tournament. They didn't play well in that game yesterday, pushed it ultimately, but Vermont took them to the 9th, 10th round in that one.
Yeah, now we got a lot of time before we talk about tomorrow's games, but you want to talk about interesting matchups, stuff that I really look forward to in the tournament, big man. Iowa State, Purdue tomorrow, finesse team versus a team that's going to have to pound it down low. And again, you picked out Swanigan's going to have to dominate tomorrow. He's going to be a key cog, a mismatch completely for that Iowa State team. But we'll get into those games a little bit later. Starting early off on the docket today, Oklahoma State and Michigan, 13-11, actually 14-11 right now. Oklahoma State game tipped off there, right around a 2.5 point favorite for Michigan. Looking at this game myself, Michigan coming in with a lot of steam here. Myself, I took a little bit of a public fade and went against Michigan and took Oklahoma State with the points. But I can see the point of view where Michigan playing well down the line, finishing off with a Big Ten win there. Your thoughts on this game, big man, leaning any one way or another, even though it's all the way?
This was my concern with Michigan, kind of that momentum and everything is gone. I mean, they're starting out the game terribly from the field. They have 1 3-pointer. They've missed 2 free throws, and they've turned the ball. They haven't turned the ball over, but they're just not making shots. This is the concern that Michigan backers sorely did not want to see, and it looks like it's coming true early on here. 11 minutes into the game, they have 11 points. That's not good enough, especially against an Oklahoma State team that struggles to get stops. They better get it going quickly, or this one could get out of hand early, and this is what the Michigan team is. They kind of, I don't mean to be weird, but blew their load a little bit with Michigan. They blew their load in that Big Ten tournament, and now the luster's gone, I feel like, with this team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We'll keep moving right down the line here. An interesting one, which, again, we talked about Baylor a lot, Scott Drew being the head coach, a little bit underwhelming this year, even though they did play technically in a tough conference in the Big 12. They're going to go up against New Mexico State. The line to me, again, when you're just reading lines straight off the bat, and it's going to be tipping off in just a few moments, the Aggies coming in a little bit undervalued here, getting double digits. And if you've seen anything from yesterday and anything in the last couple of years of the tournament, you're giving conference championship teams double digits in the first round when maybe that team ahead of them, as in a 3 seed like Baylor, might not be as motivated. These teams typically are in it right to the end. Even yesterday in the game where West Virginia comes out as a heavy favorite, gets almost a 20-point lead, and has the team who's lower rated come from behind and get an easy cover in that one. Any thoughts on laying this many points with Baylor? To me, I'm not comfortable with laying that much to Baylor.
No, I'm not going to do it, and I don't want to. I got to be honest. I do think I don't think this is a very good matchup for New Mexico State. I think they'll struggle to score in this one. They're a team that prides themselves defensively. Ian Baker's a great guard, and they have some guys that can play. But Baylor's a team that really kind of fallen off. No one talks about them much anymore, but they're sitting there as a 3 seed. I have no opinion on this game really either way. If you had a gun to my head, I would take probably I don't know. I don't even want to give a lead now for this game. All I'll say is I think New Mexico State will struggle to score in this one. They should play pretty good defense. But if you've learned anything from Baylor, it would be that you don't bet them in this tournament. Scott Drew is a moron, and I don't want him ever having any of my money. I don't want him having my worst enemy's money. He's a dope, and he has no idea what he's doing. I wouldn't have any money on this one at all.
And we take a look we're just going to go right down in the way they're actually structured in tournament play today with the times. Seton Hall and Arkansas, interesting matchup. You have that Seton Hall type of style game where they're going to come out, bang the ball down low. Some really good players in that aspect there. Going up against Arkansas that looks to push the ball a little bit. Hannes is a great three-point shooter. We watched them all year in the SEC going up against the Ole Misses, the Kentuckys, the Floridas, holding their own in that respect. I know Seton Hall doesn't play the prettiest style of basketball, big man, but when you have a Carrington and a Delgado who just dominates down low, Desi Rodriguez, these guys have been there, done that, been battle-tested in the Big East tournament and also making the NCAA tournament last year. In this one, to me, for myself, I would be leaning towards Arkansas. I just think they can score the basketball a little bit easier as opposed to Seton Hall. Again, won't be putting my money on this one because it's pretty much a coin flip to myself, but I would lean Arkansas in this situation. Any thoughts on this game, big man?
I actually have a premium down in this game, so I'm going to abstain from this one. But all I'll say is I think the side that I have has a distinct advantage in this game. And if you've listened to me, you know where that is. You can just listen to me and know where I'm on in this game. It's pretty straightforward. We'll hope that a 8-9 matchup goes our way here.
Gotcha. We'll just keep it on moving down. One of the games that doesn't really have much interest for me, I don't know how much it does for the listeners as well, as the Jacksonville State-Louisville game. It's one of those where I feel Louisville can just roll out the basketball and win. But again, we are gamblers. There's a point spread involved and not just picking the actual winner of the game itself. The advantages, very simple. Louisville's going to play nasty defense. 7th overall in the country. And then on the offensive side, they don't really let up. They're a top 25 team in adjusted efficiency also there. Jacksonville State doesn't bring much firepower to the table and also doesn't bring too much defense to the table either. One of the worst teams in the nation, big man, in defending the three is Jacksonville. Louisville doesn't shoot it at a great clip at 35%, but that's something they can certainly take advantage of. And what does Louisville not do well in defense? They defend the perimeter. They defend from two. They're not, they foul a little bit on that end, but overall, a pretty effective defense. Leaning at Jacksonville State, talk to the listeners out there that maybe haven't seen Jacksonville State throughout the year. What type of problems might they present to Louisville?
Yeah, I got to disagree totally. I think they're a good play in this game, to be honest. Listen, Louisville's a good basketball team. I'm not as impressed as I have been in other years with them. I don't think this is like a Peyton Siva, Russ Smith team. Jacksonville State is well coached. Ray Harper is one of the better coaches you're going to find that gets zero love, and that's what makes it pathetic about these coaches that do get love. Ray Harper is a really good coach. Listen, Jacksonville State was a very good road team all year. They won a lot of neutral court games. They were 15-6 overall against the spread on the road. They've been playing great defense lately, and a couple names to keep an eye on. Malcolm Drumright, their leading scorer, good shooter, good from three. He's going to keep them in this game. Giga, the Lithuanian, down low, another very good player. this is a lot of points for me. I would look to grab the dog here. I think Ray Harper's a good enough coach to keep them close in this game. And if you look at some of the games yesterday, they didn't get out of hand. I'm not sure this one does either. I would probably take the 20 points, and as you would say, pray with this one.
Yeah, as you see my hashtag that I put out, take the points and pray. Again, when you're looking in the tournament, anything more than 6 to 7 points, these teams are fighting and scraping down to the line. And again, these aren't your bottom feeders that are getting 7 in these conference tournaments that you usually see, early rounds or even throughout the season. These are conference champions that can score the basketball, play defense, and obviously get some good coaching there. Let's keep it moving today. One of my favorite games of the day, matchup at 3:10 Eastern Standard Time, USC versus SMU. If you just look at SMU's overall package, Jeff, the last time they lost was January 12th to Cincinnati by 2 points on the road, cleaned the table the rest of the way. They did play USC earlier in the season and did take a loss by 5 points on the road. I don't really play into anything that happens, pre-Thanksgiving or even earlier in the season. A lot can change. This SMU team, to me, has really found itself. The only thing that you're kind of struggling with is laying a 6.5-point number to a USC team that already won a game, has its feet in the tournament, and as we know, can score the basketball fairly easily. Also no slouch playing in that Pac-12 conference. I know they don't have the resume of knocking off some of the top teams in conference there, but they're going to be sure playing well with a team against SMU. But to me, until you knock off SMU and show that you can dominate the physicality of this team, because if you saw over the season, they beat up Cincinnati quite a bit over the season. This is a seasoned team, a veteran team, and plays very good defense against a USC team that, maybe not the toughest team, a little bit of a finesse. Any thoughts on that one, big man, on this game?
Yeah, as you know, I've been very high on SMU. I very much like this team. I said to you before, the one concern I had was, at some point, I think the depth thing is going to hurt them. Again, they're the strongest 5 or 6 players. I think they can play with anyone in the country at that level. But, USC just kind of gives me an uneasy feeling. I don't like seeing them in this round. I think they got a lot of momentum after that win the other night. And Donnie, I want to go back to the game that they played against USC. You look at it in that game. Jarrell Foster fouled out. Ben Moore had 4 fouls. Sterling Brown had 4 fouls. Shake Milton had 3 fouls. A lot of these guys they only played 30 minutes because they had foul trouble. If USC gets them into foul trouble, this is going to be a tough game for them to cover. I just think there's a lot of things here that I'm not interested in. Listen, SMU should run away with this game on the surface, but there's just too many things on the outside that I'm just not interested in getting involved with. I think SMU will move on. I'm looking for them to survive and advance. And I think if you ask them, that's what they're looking to do as well. They're looking to get as much as they can as far as just moving on, moving to the next game. They've covered all year. I feel like I'll take the money that I made from SMU and just hope that they win going forward. I've made enough money with SMU that for me, I'm just going to jump away and just hope that they win. I'll be rooting for them, though.
Yep, another game we're going to take a look at today, which has all the makings of a blowout. Both the line makers and the line pushers, being sharps, and also the public, knocking this line up as high as they can get it. It's Texas Southern versus North Carolina. When you try to take a look at these teams matchup-wise, and you want to try to get an in for Texas Southern, they obviously play in a much, much weaker conference than the ACC. The one thing UNC can do is score. The one thing that Texas Southern struggles with nationally would be overall scoring defense. The one thing that's really going to hurt them is they don't rebound the ball very well. UNC, one of the best rebounding teams in the country. If we try to line up and say, maybe Texas Southern can sneak in the back door, because, again, you're not dealing with 5, 10, 15, or even 20 points. That line currently right now is sitting up somewhere around 27 to 27.5. It's a bad matchup here, but, again, it's close to home in North Carolina. North Carolina has a tendency to get out and run, but how much do you want to? I mean, if you're up 60 to 30 at some point, old Roy's going to be looking maybe to put the boys on the bench and live and fight another day and not get an injury here. To me, it's just too high of a point spread for me to touch on the favorite. But I think of all the matchups today, big man, I think this one is probably the biggest mismatch.
Agreed. I actually, it's funny you said that, Donnie, because I have a friend of mine, someone that taught me pretty much all I know in this business from South Philadelphia. He actually is in I told you about it. It's a bid league where you bid on teams basically, and you pay big dollars to get teams, and as they move on, you get paid. And there's actually a prop that they do in that contest where if you get a 16 seed, you actually get 5% of the pot on the biggest blood in the tournament. He actually called me and asked me what I thought on who the biggest blood of the tournament would be. I told him I thought it would be this game. And it actually makes sense because after yesterday, this has the opportunity to do that because there weren't a lot of bloods yesterday. Yeah, look, Texas Southern, for what you don't know about them, the SWAC is probably the worst overall conference in the country as far as basketball talent in the Division I realm. They're not very good at all. Mike Davis has done a nice job here, though. They've had an admirable year. Zach Lofton's a really good player. The problem with Texas Southern is they lost Derek Griffin, who I don't know if anyone knows, but he went the Rico Gathers route, decided to give up basketball and go play football. He's at the NFL Combine trying to get a roster spot somewhere. But yeah, you look at some of the step-up games for Texas Southern. Look, I'll valiantly give them a lot of respect. They played a tough schedule, but they got pounded. I mean, by TCU, Baylor, Louisville, Arizona, just a lot of high-level blowouts. I don't see them hanging around here. I think they lose by 30, to be honest with you. I just think this is a bad matchup, and you really don't have anyone else other than Zach Lofton to do much in.
Yeah, no, game setting up to be a blowout. Had a nice little comeback here. Oklahoma State was up about 8 or 9 points. They limited it down to 2. 27-25, Oklahoma State over Michigan with 5 minutes left in the first half.
That's big for Michigan. They're starting to, obviously make it a game which they had to do. They really couldn't afford to go down, let's say 32 to 19 or something. They really needed, and they hit some threes. They hit a couple, and we'll see how that goes in the second half. Looks like Baylor struggling out of the gate. 5 minutes in, just 3 points. That New Mexico State defense, Donnie. I got to be real. If Baylor loses today, another early exit.
No, that's when we've all taken a look at Baylor, and it's hard to trust a team like Baylor laying double digits, especially against. I mean, it's not even. Yeah. It is a decent team, New Mexico State. I get it, but when you're Baylor at this point, you should be able to just get out there and just get after them over. Be more physical team. But that's Baylor right there, down 5 points early. We'll see how that sways. But that's been a general topic so far in the tournament here is just some of these higher seeded teams just getting behind the 8 ball here. So it's going to be interesting.
And again, I mean, we have a lot of time. It's 5 minutes in, but again, I mean, New Mexico State is tough to score on, so that's difficult. But Honey Bear, would you like a second half over in the Michigan? I don't know. I don't have any idea what the score is and where it's going to be. Michigan just took the lead, by the way. I'll have to see. I'll get back to you if we're still in the air. Maybe we'll delve into that, but not so far.
Yeah, game's got a pretty good pace to it. I mean, looking at both teams at about 30 points with about 5 minutes to play. So, I mean, that game, you'd like if you're going to over gamble or be an over gamble, you're going to like the tempo in that one.
Yeah, I would say if I get 82 or less, I would probably look over.
Yeah, and you're probably going to be looking at a closer game down the stretch. So if one of these teams is up 5 or 6 point late, both of these teams can hit the 3-pointers and move that ball, get one of those, 15 to 20 point last minute and a half.
It was funny last night, Donnie, on our show we did the late night on campus, which we started last night. So feel free to check that out tonight. We kind of just recap everything that went on. We were talking about that game live when we were watching it, and we were talking about the second half over, and it was kind of a gift and a curse for me because I have Florida Gulf Coast. Yeah. I needed all those points to come back, but I kind of like the under in the second half. So I'll take the Florida Gulf Coast win over the under losing.
No doubt about it. We'll keep it moving on today. Now, going over a blowout game, not much interest on my end, but taking a look at the next game here, I know a lot of people out there, especially in the chat box and everybody, has interest in Rhode Island versus Creighton, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The line opened up at Creighton -2. Rhode Island's been playing very good basketball. We've talked about on the roundtable, right side of campus and wherever, that we are big backers of Rhode Island here. It's kind of a tough situation because, again, being a gambler, this isn't Rhode Island playing on the East Coast. This is Rhode Island going all the way out west to play a really good team and a really good defensive team. It's going to be interesting to see how they hold up. Rhode Island now, big man, a 2-point favorite in that game. Looking at these two overall teams when matching them up, defense is going to be of the essence. If you're looking at Rhode Island, 31st in the nation, ranked overall in adjusted efficiency on defense. Creighton, 37 in adjusted defense. There's going to have to be something that's going to give because the one thing we know, Creighton shoots the three and shoots it at a high level at almost 40% as a team, good for the top 15 in the nation. But the one thing Rhode Island does is they get after you on defense, number 2 in the nation at defending the 3. So a lot of chinks in the armor that you're going to want to try to get after typically versus a ball club might not be there on defense. Both teams are pretty good with the ball and very effective. Big man, any thoughts or leans on this game? Because to me, This looks like a coin flip, but I know the public is heavy on Rhode Island.
Yeah, I mean, I've made it clear I really like Rhode Island. The problem I have is yet another team that did they blow their load getting into the tournament. Once the tournament comes, they fizzle out like a bad firecracker on 4th of July. That's the question I have. Yeah, could I see it? Sure. They exported a lot of effort into getting into this tournament. And at this point, like you said, now you got to go on the road, go out to the West Coast. Listen, they're not that good an offensive team. They're only shooting at about 45% this year. This Creighton team, I got to give Greg McDermott some credit. This team has maintained their offensive prowess throughout the year. They're still shooting 51%. Defensively, they're not as good as Rhode Island. But the problem I have also with Rhode Island is they're not a particularly good three-point shooting team. They don't make free throws. I got to be honest, the public love affair with Rhode Island is turning me off. I have Rhode Island advance in brackets, but do I want to lay points at them at this point? No. I hope they win. I'll root my bracket in. Again, I don't have much in the brackets. I could care less, really. I think Rhode Island will win, but this Creighton team has really surprised me. I really thought when Maurice Watson went down, we have to understand 38% of their offensive output went goodbye. They still played well. I give McDermott a hell of a lot of credit in this game. And if they can win this game, they're going to hurt a lot of brackets. And I think after yesterday, there needs to be a little bracket hurting after what we saw yesterday. I wouldn't be surprised to see Creighton win this game. And at this point, with the movement, I think they will.
Yeah, interesting thing also when you take a look at two different teams riding a hot wave into the tournament. The one thing that was a little bit different from Michigan for me, big man, as compared to Rhode Island, is Michigan made the run, but knowing they were probably, 90% already in the tournament, whether they made a run or not. Rhode Island was firmly on that outside looking in, and even getting into the final versus VCU, they still had no guarantees they were getting in. So maybe they get that win, take that deep breath, celebrate. Oh, we're finally in the tournament. When Creighton, again, on the opposite side, didn't win their conference tournament, but already knowing they're in, getting prepped and ready to go, there's no, exhale that, oh, we finally made the tournament. They knew they were in.
Donnie, to be frank with the listeners, if you didn't get – you had ample opportunities. If you liked Rhode Island, it would be hard to believe that throughout 5 days your opinion would have changed. If you liked Rhode Island, you should have got them at +2. You could have got that at Monday evening, 9:40 Eastern. It was still 2. You could have got 2. You had basically a day to get 2. If you missed the boat on 2, I wouldn't be interested in laying 2 at this point. You just missed the boat. Move on.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. Sometimes the early bird does get the worm. To me, I'm looking at a few games today. Lines haven't changed yet.
Why would you consider waiting on Rhode Island? I mean, if you knew anything about sports betting, you would know that this was going to be a favorite side. People are going to love this side. You had to figure that wouldn't last. Again, if you missed the boat, you missed the boat.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I get gamblers and they're only, one-track-minded opinion where if there's a game that night on a Monday or Tuesday, they're not really looking ahead when, one of the best things you can do is try to snipe ahead. Same thing in football season. Those lines come out fairly early for college football, early Monday morning. And if you already have the game picked out and capped out, you can usually steal a line maybe 2 or 3 points in that situation.
Again, though, I just kind of look at the overall state of Rhode Island. All I heard was how good they were and how they were going to move on. And I just think from foreshadowing, you would know that. But again, I get people are certain tracked with the way they think. But, yeah, I wouldn't be interested at this number.
Yeah, let's take a look at another one we sort of skipped over. 2 o'clock start. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this one. Iona versus Oregon. Laying a hefty number. Line opened up at about 14.5. Was bet down a little bit, but it looks like the public is now coming back and betting Oregon. That line is shifting back up to 15 to 15.5. I don't think many of the public out there even know who Iona is when everybody knows who Oregon is. So there might be some value in that overall number. I do see the line at 154.5. And again, Iona's playing out on the West Coast in unfamiliar territory. And keep in mind, fellas, they're actually going to be going at 2 o'clock Western time, but that's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Iona. So, if you're looking for an ulterior motive here to maybe get a separate angle on this game, it's a little bit of an earlier start than Iona might be used to in this one. To me, I haven't, obviously I'm not going to have anything serious on this game, but I would be leaning towards Iona with the points here. The one thing, they have a 4-guard rotation, Jordan Washington down low. They're going to be able to score some points against Oregon here. And again, the early flow of the tournament is telling you to take the points here, especially over double digits.
Yeah, listen, Iona, keep in mind, Donnie, to go against your argument, did play in Alaska earlier this year for what it's worth. Again, that's definitely, as far as time difference, something that I think will help them in this game. Yeah, I have a plan this game, so I'm going to look off of it. But, good luck with whatever you do. If you want my premium play, feel free to get in touch with me. But shout out to Guan White, Al Hart, everyone out there listening. We appreciate it. We got a nice group of people watching currently. So thanks out there for listening. And Donnie, what would you pick in this game? What do you like here?
I mean, hey, what do I touted all year? Maction and extra Maction with the AA with the Metro Atlantic. It's too many points.
I hate this conference, though. Let's put it out.
I know you hate it, but the one thing that you've watched Iona all season long, they have really good guard play. And the way you stick around in the tournament is having good guard play. I'm not saying Iona is going to come out here and win this game by any stretch. I just think when push comes to shove, if this does turn into a 20-point game, Iona can knock down the 3 ball. And if, Oregon is in their survive and advance mode and it's a 17-point game with a minute and a half to go, the starting 5, the timeout comes and everybody gets to shake hands and go to the bench and the bench warmers come in. Iona's not going to go to their bench warmers at that point. These are senior players that want to play and get their last points in and remember this experience. Iona can close late. They can put up points. I'm not laying that many points with Oregon here.
Donnie, a little bit of interesting something I noticed about this game with Michigan here. I'm watching it, and I see Darren Ravel tweet that Mohamed Abdur-Rahman for Michigan is still wearing pink Jordan 31s. And I looked it up, and I guess that's the same pair after that plane incident, the only pair he had available. Is that a little bit of a superstitious thing by Mohamed Abdur-Rahman to still rock the pink 31s?
Yeah, no, we talked about it earlier. Like, I don't know why Michigan is going back to their regular game jerseys. I mean, You had the perfect storm, and you want to talk about as a university or Nike or Jumpman capitalizing on that. They would ride those practice uniforms all the way, because if they turn into the darling and end up making a run and getting to the Final Four, they're going to be a complete story, moneymaker everywhere. And I'm shocked. Being a gambler and playing sports your whole life, you are superstitious. If you played football and on Saturday morning, but Friday night you had 2 slices of your favorite pizza, you go out and have 8 catches for 134 yards and 2 scores, damn right the next week on Friday night, I'm getting 2 more slices. So I think they missed an opportunity, and especially when you're a head coach of a team like Beeline is, very intellectual, you want to get inside your player's head the best you can. What better way to say, we can't lose with these uniforms? Look what we just did with this. We're going to roll. And that gets right in and feeds into that confidence.
I know for me on superstitious things, the one thing I hate about this tournament, the one gripe I have is I wish there was a way to remove the scores up at the top of the game. I hate that because I often want to just tune out and watch something else. And I don't like I wish there was and I guess there probably is with the formatting of your TV, which I'll have to look into, but that's something that I wish you could do away with. I would prefer to not know what's going on. And
yeah, no, it's a good point. My buddy is a big NBA fan, but he DVRs most of the games on the ticket, and he actually has a concoction that he puts on the screen. It's like a built-in piece of wood that he slides up, and it's about 3.5 inches that blocks the ticker out from the bottom so it doesn't spoil as he's going back in DVR.
It's crazy that he actually went and did something to prevent it. That's pretty interesting. By the way, Donnie, looks like we finally had ding, ding, ding. Oh, my God. We actually had a coaching move by Scott Drew that worked. He went zone on New Mexico State. Bears went on an 11-0 run. How about that, Donnie?
Getting a little bit more hair on his head, too. So
yeah,
everything's looking up, man.
And this Michigan game still tied, a minute left. We got to at least stay on until that second half comes out. My friend's daughter's the athletic director for Drake. Awesome. Good for her.
Love that conference.
Yeah. What's up with the one guy calling you all over Twitter, big man?
It's the same guy under multiple aliases, which we just, don't.
Yeah, same dude that multiply calls me out all the time. That's just his business. That's what he does. I don't feed into it. I just block it.
Yeah, we'll run for about another couple minutes here, but we got some games that we can look at for tonight. I know a lot of people asking on the chat box. A monster game. One of my favorite matchups in this one today is going to be Wichita State and Dayton. Wichita State just doesn't lose. Dayton is one of those teams that's going to battle you tooth and nail as you come down the stretch. Again, I like to look, my initial thoughts when you look at a game is saying, why is that line so high? I even saw it peak today at about 7. It did dip back to 6.5. I'm not going to have any wager on this game because I'm not feeling this line or understanding exactly why this is here. Wichita State, I know, is a really good ball club, but it's very rare on a neutral court you're going to give a team like Dayton that many points. And again, this isn't Kentucky, UCLA, or Duke that they're running up against. Wichita State, yes, very good team. This Wichita State team isn't as good as last year's model, coming in and a little bit less battle-tested. I know they ripped through the MVC today, but I can't lay that many points, big man.
Yeah, agreed. Probably. I will say I do kind of like a side in this game. The thing I will say is Wichita, maybe they feel a little slighted on that 10 seed that they got. That's important. And Dayton did kind of bow out early in that A-10 tournament. I'll pass on this one. I do have an opinion on it, so I'm going to look elsewhere. But yeah, I know you like Dayton, so I'm sure you'll be glued to the TV.
Yeah, no, I'll be watching. Let's go over one more game before we wrap it up here. Let's take the late night equation. It has everything, that I like because it's the MAC with Kent State, but also UCLA is that hot pulse right now. I know in the last game, Lonzo Ball did get that thumb a little bit injured. They're limping around a little bit. Do you think, big man, that that's going to play into this game? Clearly overmatched Kent is in this one. I know we love the heart of Kent. They played well down the stretch, made a great run, beat Akron in the MAC final. I don't think they have enough guns even to stay within that 17-18 number here. But again, it all is going to play into it. Does UCLA just call off the dogs, which they've been known not to do even though it is the tournament and you're looking to survive in advance and have a couple guys banged up? Give your thoughts on this game before we get out of here.
Yeah, I don't think it will come too much into play. Lonzo Ball's a tough kid, a warrior, and with the father he has, I doubt he'll ever sit a game for this kind of reason. Yeah, I would. I know that the line's high. I would probably look over. I mean, I don't really see any sort of semblance of much defense in this game. I think Jimmy Hall will have a big game for the Kent State Golden Flashes. I really don't see anyone down on the block for UCLA that can defend Jimmy Hall. Jimmy Hall is a kid from Brooklyn who is a tough kid, hard-nosed kid. He'll be able to get some baskets late in that game. It's a high total, but I would imagine UCLA could push 90 here. This is probably like a 92-72 type of game or something like that. Yeah, I don't have much opinion on the side. I'll hope and root the Kent State can win, but I know that's pretty unlikely. So.
Yeah, going to be interesting. I'm going to get back to these games. Looks like it's 38-38, maybe a last possession or two. So definitely this game is swinging towards the over and that type of tempo. I'm going to say if you can get somewhere around 83 or less in the second half, it's probably not going to be a bad wager. Any thoughts on that? Big man?
Both of these teams are good foul shooting teams for the most part. Yeah, I mean, it's a close game, though. I would imagine possessions are close. But, yeah, it doesn't look like these teams are having any trouble putting the ball in the hoop.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, that's going to bring our time short here today on the right side of campus. Me and the big man have a few more outlets that we have to hit today. But, of course, this is our favorite show that we do here with the right side of campus with SBR. Justin behind the scenes there, holding down the wheels of steel with the chat room and certainly providing us as being a great producer there. But we're going to log off here. Any last-minute thoughts there, big man, before we get out of here?
No, enjoy the games today. One thing I'll say, give us a follow on Twitter. We do a late show. It's called the Late Night on Campus. We just kind of recap everything that went on. It's always fun to chat with Donnie and kind of recap what would happen today. And we even throw out a couple live bets and stuff like that. So join us late night here, 10 o'clock Eastern. We'll be doing that.
He's the big man on campus. I'm Donnie Wrightside. Have a good day and cash in on those tickets, fellas. Take care.